600 wins, 6 Georgia State championships, 16 regional championships, 2-time National Coach of the Year, first team from Georgia to win the City of Palms Classic, the nation's #1 high school tournament, first team in Georgia history to attend the Dick's Sporting Goods National Tournament of Championships. He's produced numerous NBA players and professional basketball players all over the world. It's real basketball talk. It's real help and real life with Coach Doug Lipscomb on the BG Podcast Network. Real Life Basketball is brought to you by the all-new 2018 K900 at Carriage Kia of Woodstock and Gainesville. Buy your new K900 from Carriage Kia and we'll fly you in or come pick you up for delivery. Visit CarriageKia.com 24/7, 365 days a year. For America's best deal on the K900, call Chris Stanford directly at 1-866-333-2122. That's 1-866-333-2122.
Welcome once again to Real Life Basketball. Darren Sutherland, the coach, the legend Doug Lipscomb here with me once again. Edition number 26, I believe, Doug. And we're slap dab in the middle of tournament season. So if you're one of our listeners and you're saying you're listening here in June or July, Doug, it's March 16th and March Madness is going on. So we really don't date stuff a lot, but we've got to date stuff today, don't we?
Oh, yeah. It's a really exciting time.
Second day of the tournament going on, and we big upsets yesterday, Doug. Big things happening. Georgia names a head coach early this morning for you Bulldog fans out there in Bulldog Nation. Ole Miss named a coach this morning. You didn't think I knew that, did you?
Yeah, kind of a stunner. Huh?
Kind of a stunner. So the two schools close to Doug's heart and my heart, Middle Tennessee State and the University of Georgia, both names new head basketball coaches. So we've got that. Tom Crean comes down here from Indiana, formerly of Indiana. I'll be honest with you, Doug. I was hoping for Thad Matta. I think a lot of people were, and Thad turned the job down.
Well, you had mentioned that to me earlier. Or you did it on air.
Yeah.
But I think he may have had to take a pay cut to come down to Georgia.
You think?
Yeah.
Really?
Just
Coming up on the show in just a few minutes, DeShaun Tate, basketball analyst with 92.9 The Game, one of the largest sports radio stations in the Southeast right here in Atlanta, is going to come on with us, and we're going to ask him a little bit about that, what he knows, if anything, and then we're going to ask him a little bit about what he knows going on in the tournament. Some big tournament upsets yesterday in the first day, Doug, none bigger than Buffalo upsetting Arizona. And the big kid, you know, it doesn't get much bigger than that, does it?
No, that's definitely a shocker right there.
Does he does the big boy drop in the draft because of that loss?
No.
Playing on the national stage?
No, I don't think he does, simply because on the next level he won't be playing with those kids.
He won't be playing 3-on-1 like they did him the way they did Shaquille O'Neal at LSU.
Right.
They put 3 on him, and everybody else had to win the game, and they couldn't win the game.
Yeah, and the other kid that's going in the draft with him, he's been, you know, they've been criticizing his foot speed and things like that. So we'll just see how it all works out.
That was the best Buffalo basketball team we've seen since Bob McAdoo played for the ABA Buffalo Braves. Don't you think?
Well, I tell you, they kept coming.
Yeah, they kept coming. Georgia, like we said, Thad Matta out. Not Thad Matta out. He didn't take the job. We'll talk a little bit about that. Got a new coach. Are you surprised they didn't wait around and talk to Ron Hunter today or tomorrow?
Well, I'm very surprised, and I want to ask DeShaun Tate what he thinks about the hire as well.
Yeah, we'll talk to DeShaun coming up and all that kind of good stuff. But how'd you do in your bracket yesterday, Doug?
Oh, I'm pretty good. You know,
who'd you lose with? Other than Arizona, because you picked Arizona.
Okay. I thought Kansas State was going to pull it out, and so I thought Miami was going to go a little bit farther.
Hey, did you notice President Obama picked Loyola of Chicago to beat Miami in his bracket?
Well, of course, that's his home area.
Yeah. Well, word on the street, Donald Trump's going to release his bracket tomorrow.
He'll wait to the Final Four, probably, right?
He'll wait to the Final Four, and his will be 100%. What do you think? But anyway, let's go to Carriage Automotive Group, Skyline. Carriage Automotive Group, fine sponsors of Real Life Basketball. And before we go to Skyline, if you're watching on Facebook Live, you can see our new Real Life Basketball T-shirts. And the first person that reaches out on the Real Life Basketball T-shirts and tells me what kind of hat I have on today. Now, yes, it's a Braves hat, but what kind of hat is it before the Braves came? It was the team before the Braves entered Atlanta. It was the minor league team, so to speak, Doug. And you know what this hat is? We'll give you the Real Life Basketball T-shirts. Sent one of these out to Illinois, one out to Jefferson, Georgia, and one out to Kentucky this past week. It's the Real Life Basketball T-shirt. You see Doug's got one on. All our guests get one. DeShaun Tate, we'll send him one for being with us today. And let's go to the Carriage Automotive Group Skype line. Talk to 92.9 The Game's basketball analyst extraordinaire, DeShaun Tate.
Come see the Carriage family and experience the Carriage difference.
Kia is keeping it real with the all-new 2018 K900. Drive the car LeBron James drives and other NBA players call their preferred vehicle of choice. And right now, Carriage Kia of Woodstock and Gainesville has your new K900 ready for delivery. Go online, handle everything, then upon completion, we will fly you in to pick up your new K900 or deliver it directly to you. Call Chris Stanford directly at 1-866-333-2122. That's 1-866-333-2122. Ask for Chris Stanford. Carriage Kia, 24/7, 365 days a year at carriagekia.com.
Come see the Carriage family and experience the Carriage difference.
Let's go on the Carriage Automotive Group Skype line to our good friend at 92.9 The Game, basketball analyst extraordinaire DeShaun Tate, and talk to him about what's going on in his world. DeShaun, welcome to Real Life Basketball with Coach Doug Lipscomb and myself, Darren Sutherland.
Real Life Basketball, Coach Doug, Coach Sutherland. Man, appreciate you guys for having me on. I'll tell you one thing, I'm not going to lose any sleep if Donald Trump doesn't release his NCAA tournament bracket, that's for sure. And I appreciate the T-shirt. Please and thank you, size medium.
Well, you know what? Here's the bad part, okay? You want to hear the bad news? You're going to have to wait for the next batch of T-shirts because the only sizes we have left as of right now are XX and XXX. One of our coaches, which was a female coach, which we won't mention, but she did a great job when she was on our show. I didn't realize it, but I sent the lovely young lady a XX. Doug, can you believe I did something like that?
Well, it was just a minor error.
Minor error on my part. So anyway, she got one, but we'll get you taken care of, DeShaun. DeShaun, tell our listeners before we talk NCAA and before we talk tournament, because we like to keep it real around here, how you got involved in being the analyst for one of the top sports radio stations in the southeastern United States, 92.9 The Game.
Well, this is probably a really crazy story. I'm going to try and keep it as short and concise as I possibly can. I've been following basketball, man, since I was a kid, man. I mean, really, really young. I didn't get started playing basketball and getting involved in it until I was maybe age 10. I'm originally from Lansing, Michigan, so, of course, right around that Spartan area. And I just kind of gravitated towards it and just paying a lot of attention to it and just everything that it represented. And, of course, you know, with the Michigan State program, you get excited about these times of the year. And so I've just always followed it. And eventually I've worked enough jobs in my life that were non-basketball and sports talk radio related that I got in so much trouble for stepping away from my department and talking to other people in other areas about basketball and would eventually get fired. After that, so many times you eventually say, you know what, let's start trying to get paid off of this little brain that we have, little peanut brain that we have. So I just figured, you know what, I like to go for the best. You know, they said that this is the best sports talk radio station in the metro Atlanta area, so I want to be a part of it. And so, you know, there wasn't a lot offered in terms to get started, but I didn't really have the education behind me, but I knew my stuff. You know, I'm very knowledgeable and love college basketball. So I said, you know what? Let's try and push for it. Let's go for it. You need somebody to cover college basketball. And ever since then, it just kind of took off. Just kept banging on the door and wait for someone to answer.
Well, thank you for joining us. Let's step right into some things here with the big turnovers as far as the head coaches are going right now. We had kind of threw some names out there. What do you think about the hire at the University of Georgia?
I like the Tom Crean hire. I don't think it's the greatest hire for what they could have gone for, but I don't think it's a bad hire at all. I think that it just depends on what is the Georgia standard. What is Georgia basketball? What is the first thing you think of when you think of Georgia basketball? I think that some changes definitely needed to be made. And I think if not nothing else, Ron Hunter deserved at least a tournament out of the state of Georgia and just as many times as Mark Fox has. But nonetheless, you know, if you want to go with a more well-known coach and has a little bit more of a resume, don't forget Tom Crean took Marquette to the Final Four with Dwayne Wade back in the early part of the 2000s, I think 2003. You know, and he's had some success at Indiana as well. It just depends on what you're trying to contend for if you're the University of Georgia. I'm not sure if Tom Crean is the coach that will be more successful than Ron Hunter would have been in terms of winning a national championship and or regular season conference tournament or regular season championships, that is. But I thought that model was probably the better fit of all of them because you can recruit and get guys to stay home. But I think that's the elephant in the room here in the state of Georgia, where it's an underrated and underappreciated hotbed for basketball here in this town to get guys to be able to stay home. So we'll see what he can bring to the table.
Well, let me throw something out at you because, like I say, like we always say, it's real life basketball.
Keep it real.
So my question to you is that if you want to escalate your program, you want to take it to another level. I mean, you can see who's doing things here in the state, and like you said, as far as Ron Hunter or any other younger guy out there, I don't know who else I could compare Ron Hunter to right now, but his success level is second to none around here, you know. And I think he would have been, if he's not the chosen one this time, a very good candidate, just like you said. So I'm backing exactly what you said. I'm not going to go into any details of what happened to Coach Cream at Indiana. But you know,
hey, let me say this. I can say this. I think here's how I'll defend Krim. Krim was at Indiana. To coach basketball in Indiana is akin to coaching football at the University of Alabama. If you don't win, you don't stay. He lost 14 games 2 years in a row, I believe, or he lost double-digit games and didn't make the tournament 2 years in a row. That's unacceptable at the University of Indiana. Let me tell you this. Oh, boy, don't make the tournament next year from Indiana, they'll be calling for his head next. That's just the way it works at the University of Indiana. Here's my worry about Krim, okay? And DeShaun, tell me if I'm wrong. Doug, tell me if I'm wrong. We've got another Midwesterner coming south to a southern state that has no footprint within the AAU circuit and with the recruiting circuit in the state of Georgia, and it's going to cost him it's no different than Mark Fox coming in from Nevada. It's going to take him a good 18 months to get a semblance of a network built to even start recruiting the top kids out of Georgia. Krim, when he landed on an airplane and signed the deal with the University of Georgia, when he was in the interview, if I'm Krim, what's the first thing I'm saying, Doug, at the interview? I'm saying, I've got to get out of this interview room because I've got to get E.J. Montgomery's parents on the telephone and talk to him today. You follow what I'm saying? I believe if we would have had a Ron Hunter handed that Georgia job, that sort of thing would have happened. But because we've got another Midwesterner, another out-of-region guy coming south to coach this team, Doug, I mean, you know this high school circuit. You know the AAU circuit. We've got 18 months to build on it. He's got to build this. And here we got another man. Let's just face it. We got another old white guy coming into the South trying to resurrect it because he knows X's and O's. I mean, if I'm going to take an X's and O guy, I'm going out to Delta State and bringing my buddy Jim Boone in to coach it. Don't you agree, Doug?
I mean, I hear what you're saying, but let me give you a little insight. Today I was able to speak with some people about there's a grassroots United group where some of the top AAU teams out of Georgia in this area, like AOT, Game Elite, Atlanta Celtics, and those group of guys, they're going to have a workout with all of the top echelon teams. Now, if I could find the information now, and I'm sure if I was on top of my game as a Division I coach, I would try to make sure I made that appearance or contacted somebody that's going to be doing the workout from 12 to 5. It's not open to the public, but I definitely would try to be there because, I mean, they got some excellent trainers as far as Mark Edwards, Rob Allen, Nick Stapleton, Otis Hughley from the NBA, Abe Millsap, and Paul Millsap are involved as well. So, hey, that's a little heads up. And SUV will be recording it live. So.
DeShaun, what's your thought on Crean? I mean, you know, you talked to us a little bit about it, but what's your thought on Crean at the University of Georgia? Could they have done better?
You know, in terms of Tom Crean, you know, you made a very good point about, you know, what kind of ties he has to the South. And how he's going to be able to recruit. I think that he said something right to get Georgia to be able to take a chance on him and get him to become the coach. Now, from an X's and O's standpoint, I mean, I think he's pretty good. I've seen better. I've seen worse. I think he's in the middle of the pack. And to be honest with you, Georgia's basketball program and the front office of their athletics department and the way that they view the program, just from what I've seen, is pretty average as well. So I think that Crean is a step up. I'm glad to see that they took a chance on a Tom Crean or someone of that, you know, of his standard. I just, you know, it still remains to be seen. I wouldn't be surprised if he exceeded expectations, depending on who you ask what they are. But in terms of what has happened at Georgia so far in the last, I don't know, you know, I mean, Dennis Felton got the team to, I think, one conference tournament championship, if I'm not mistaken, as well as 2 NCAA tournament appearances from Coach Mark Fox. I think that Crean will exceed that. But I don't think that he will go above and beyond unless he's able to land those kids. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. Because right now, when you're looking at college basketball, it's really not even about hanging banners really anymore and winning championships. And nowadays, you get an extension based on if you can land guys. I mean, think about it, and I don't want to get a little bit too long-winded, but think about a program like Kentucky that does nothing, that we know them to be nothing but a program that hangs national championship banners. Look how many they've left on the table. They've left one on the table with 2010 with Cousins and Wall. 2011 with Brandon Knight, they go back, they lose to Kemba Walker's Connecticut team. Now, they win it in 12, but they turn around the next year and lose to Robert Morris in the first round of the NIT. They leave one there. That's fine. You'll have a down year. Now, here comes 2014, and you are an 8th seed. You go to the title game against UConn and Shabazz Napier and Ryan Boatwright again. You leave that one on the table. Follow that up with 15. You go 38 in the bagel, and then you end up losing and leaving that one on the table. Here comes 16, 17. So, and guess what? He's been able to keep his job, and he doesn't have to win national championships. Why? Because recruiting has become a much bigger factor now and is valued more, I guess, if you will, than it is winning national championships. If Crean is able to do that, then, you know, there won't really be much coming for his head. But if you're not getting those recruits and you're not winning to some extent, then it's a lose-lose for Georgia. They'll be in the same position again within the next, I don't know, three or 4 years or so, 5 years.
He'll be in the same spot. They'll be in the same spot in 3 to 5 years. I would have rather them seen him go to Middle Tennessee State and grab Kermit out of there, a guy that if you don't win your conference tournament, you don't go to the big dance and win with those players. He's done it 3 times in the past 5 years. He ends up at Ole Miss. You mark this down. unless Crane will either end up in trouble like Jim Herrick or he'll do no different than what Mark Fox has done, Doug. That's what I'm saying.
That's tough, but like you say, we're keeping it real. Hey, I got one for you. Here we go, Mr. Tate.
Is it Kevin Ollie?
I would leave Kevin Ollie at home. Kevin Ollie won with Jim Calhoun's players, my friend. But he didn't win with Kevin Ollie's players.
Hold on, but you see people.
He coached the team.
Yeah, well, true.
He didn't recruit the team, and it's all about recruiting now. You know that.
Well, we could say that about a lot of. I mean, for crying out loud, I mean, I'm not saying Bruce Weber was the greatest coach. I mean, the same thing happened when he took Illinois. It's oranges and apples. It's kind of night and day. But people say, hey, you know what? You didn't recruit this team. That's not your team. You didn't do it with your team. However, that coach that recruited those guys didn't take those guys to the national championship and win the title either with that particular team. The new guy came in there and did that. I think that there needs to be some sort of credit. Maybe not a ton, but there needs to be some sort of credit that the new guy gets for coming in there and winning. It's not like he's doing it with a bunch of Kentucky-type talented players.
That's true.
I mean, he came in that year and did it with Ryan Boatwright and Shabazz Napier. But I'm sorry. Go ahead. I apologize.
Go ahead, Dylan.
No, because now I'm going to hit you with this one right here. What do you think about what's going on at Memphis? University of Memphis. How you feel?
I hate that Tubby only got 2 years to spend at Memphis. However, in the same token, I think Tubby's time has kind of passed him up in terms of coaching major programs. Now, if he can find a program like the way Texas Tech did when they picked up Robert Montgomery Knight, then I think that we might be having a different conversation. I'm a little bit more surprised to an extent to see that Josh Pastner got a longer tenure there at Memphis than Tubby Smith did. But, the reality is that kids didn't want to, stay home and go to Memphis. I mean, it's totally different than it was 2 years ago. And it's totally different than it was when Calipari was coaching there as well. So I hope things work out in the event that Penny Hardaway becomes the new coach over there. They've been wanting Penny for a really long time. And because he's youthful and the impact that he's had on the program, Tubby can have sour grapes about that all day long if he wants to, but the reality is just that he's just not going to touch that because that's Penny Hardaway from Memphis and everything that he means to the community, everything he means to the program, and so forth. So that's kind of out of his control. I hope Tubby finds a job. He might be more suitable for a mid-major around this point considering his age. But he had a very good point in the things that he mentioned about guys just, picking up and leaving and transferring. It's kind of like promoting quitting. But Penny Hardaway is doing an exceptional job with Team Penny in the AAU circuit as well as Memphis East. And
what's a better, DeShaun, what's a better team? Is AAU team or Memphis East?
They're the same team.
No, the AAU team I think is probably a better. It's hard to argue. I mean, he gets who he wants on these teams. I mean, the AAU team, he's produced some pretty good talent. Either way you look at it, the reality still stands that I hope that he's successful because if not, I don't even know which way Memphis would choose to go after Penny Hardaway if it's an unsuccessful situation.
That was exactly my next question. If Penny says, nope, I don't want it, I mean, because let's face it, I'm sure with Penny, money is a factor, but money's really not a factor. Penny was the number 2 or 3 pick in the NBA draft. So if he's done his bank account right, which by all indication he's a professional businessman, he's not Latrell Sprewell, he's got money in the bank. Wouldn't you agree, probably, Coach?
Yeah, I would agree. Definitely.
So it's and then let's just throw this out there. We've known this from talking to Mr. Varlas, the writer with the Memphis Commercial Appeal. Memphis basketball is a world unto its own. When you have 8th grade basketball tournaments that are drawing the size of high school state championships, it's a different world in Memphis, Tennessee. So maybe Tubby just didn't fit that culture, Coach, like they thought he would and Penny would. But who would go to Memphis if Penny doesn't? That's the question at this point. And and did they bring do they bring Penny on because they want James Wiseman out of Memphis East? The big guy. That's the next question. So we could go on and on and on about the coaching situations. DeShaun, thank you for giving us all that insight. Let me ask you this, though. We got to talk about this. Mr. Kermit leaves Middle Tennessee State, a team that belonged in the tournament, okay? They belonged in the tournament over Oklahoma and some other folks. We all know that. And goes to Ole Miss. How do you think that's going to work out?
I think it can potentially work out pretty good. I really do. I mean, just because of the fact that it's within the SEC, and I know that the SEC is a lot more competitive, especially starting this year. However, yeah, I'll be really interested to see how the SEC will turn out last year, because one of the reasons that the SEC is so much more competitive is because of so many of the freshmen that have committed, between Michael Porter Jr. and Colin Sexton and John Petty and a few others. But I would imagine that a lot of these guys are probably getting ready to go off to greener pastures, if you will. So, you know, I think it could potentially work. At the same time, it's going to take a little bit of time because it is Ole Miss. It is Oxford, Mississippi. But you never know when you're going to get another Marshall Henderson or something like that. And in the SEC, you know, you have the ability of winning the conference. You know, I mean, look at it. Auburn just did it without the most talented guys in the world. I mean, I know they got some really good players. A lot of them here from the state of Georgia, but they're not just hand over fist the most talented. Tennessee doing the same thing under Rick Barnes. So changes have to be made. Change is good. I think that's really a really good way of looking at it. And even if you're not, you know, competing for the conference regular season in the conference right away, like some of those guys I just mentioned are, you still got a shot at winning the conference tournament. And you do that, and then you look totally different from a success standpoint. And then your tenure is probably extended a little bit. So I'm not really sure where to go as far as saying if it's a great hire. I'm not going to go that far. I'm also not going to go as far as saying it's a bad hire. I mean, he's been successful, beating Michigan State, one win against a team that proves to be one of the biggest upsets in college basketball history. 40 minutes just got that man a really huge job, and you got to tip your cap to anybody, you know, who has that kind of opportunity in front of them. You can't be mad at them for leaving.
One last thing we'll throw out there to you in regards to coaching. We kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. Kevin Ollie, did he get a bad deal at Connecticut, or was it time for him to go at Connecticut?
I think for the reason the just cause, I think that was a little bit over the top for me. I don't think that should have even been mentioned. The reality is that he missed the NCAA tournament a couple times after, you know, winning the national championship, and he just wasn't winning. And that's just what it is. I mean,
can we just keep it real and say the girls were out drawing the boys?
Oh, well, I mean, that's been happening for, I mean, maybe not for an extensively long time. And hey, who knows? I thought Gino Ariema goes for the job, but realistically, I mean, that would be nice for me anyways, but realistically, you know, that's something that's been happening. That was something that was going to happen, especially after Calhoun left. And, you know, I'm not the happiest about, you know, Ali, you know, not being the coach there. But however, I'm make sure I'm saying this correctly. I'm a little bit more disappointed in the way that they went about releasing Ali. We're on a podcast, my man. Tell us the way you think. We're not under the constraints of radio. I know you're a radio guy. Tell us what you think on this thing. No, I'm just more or less. Well, let me ask you this. Let me just be blunt with you. Was he released from Connecticut for the same reasons people believe Tubby Smith was released from Kentucky? Partially. Some of it, yes. Some of it, no, because, you know, Tubby was dealing with different sorts of issues with guys transferring. That wasn't nearly the same issue that Ali was having, I mean, on top of not winning. And plus, everybody says, well, you know what, you're going to be extended if you win a national championship. You get to hang around a little longer than most people would. I think that was definitely the case. But also, when you win a national championship, you're held to a higher standard to not do it again, than to come very close to it. So, and he wasn't even doing that. He was falling to the bottom lower half of the AAC after winning the national championship, not even contending for a regularly, not even contending for the conference tournament, losing in the first round of it. So I think that should have been more of the case behind why he was let go, not so much of the other stuff that Tubby had to deal with.
Well, I'm gonna jump right in, like I'm catching the ride with you, so to speak. I think it was really bad the way that the media would give hints that this man was struggling with his own personal business. In those situations, the media is not going to keep that information away from everybody, but it's unfair to him, especially being the type person that he is. He's a very outstanding person, a good husband or a good whatever you want to call him, a good person, period. But I just think sometimes in society, when they get a chance to jump on you, they're going to ride you all the way to the ground. And I'm looking at these figures. I don't know if you want to speak on these figures, but you have coaches actually turning down $3 million a year. And then we're going to go back to the NCAA once again to see how much money is being made by these universities. But I know of no other person. Do you, Darren, that can turn down $3 million a year?
Personally, do I know somebody that turned $3 million down? One of our sponsors, Julio Jones Kia in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, my buddy Julio could turn down $3 million a year to coach a team. That's about the only person I know.
That's
personally.
It. Yeah. I mean, but
right. DeShaun, and let me say this in regards to Kevin Ollie, okay? I think he fell into the trap of replacing a legend, okay? Yes. It happened in North Carolina when Dean passed away, okay? 2 coaches down before Roy came on. Both of them had – Matt Doherty had problems. The guy he left in control of the program, I can't remember his name, he had problems.
Gillespie.
You mark this down, and you heard me say this today. When Coach K steps down, and I believe he'll step down after next year, that's just my guess from talking to people, and Jeff Capels gets the job the first year, Jeff will have his struggles just like Ali, and it'll be 3 or 4 years before they bring in a Bobby Hurley or somebody like that to coach the team. That's just my thought. Bobby Knight leaves Indiana. Boom, it's taken. They've still not recovered. When Tom Izzo leaves Michigan State, DeShaun, you're a Michigan State guy. It's going to be tough on whoever goes there. So I think the second end always has trouble. It's kind of like replacing a preacher. Once a preacher leaves, the second guy can never fill the guy's shoes that built the building, in essence. Would you agree?
I agree with that.
Yeah. Let's move on from coaches and get to the tournament. Now, folks, if you're just listening to Real Life Basketball, we want to tell you this, and we're kind of dating the show today, which we normally don't do. DeShaun Tate, basketball analyst with 92.9 The Game, Sports Talk in Atlanta, Georgia, is with us. DeShaun, we've got listeners, just so you'll know, we didn't even bring this up as we were starting the show. Doug, you know who was some big listeners on us last week? You ready for these countries? Kind of blew my mind.
Let's hear it.
We're growing in Sweden still. I don't know what we're doing about Sweden, but if somebody from Sweden will send me an email or just reach out to the show, I will send them a Real Life basketball shirt. We'll send your whole team a basketball shirt. How about that in Sweden? So anyway, it's kind of crazy, DeShaun, that we've got people all over the world listening to us. And you can go on the World Wide Web and listen to DeShaun there on 92.9 The Game's website and all that good stuff. But DeShaun, first day of the tournament, we all know the biggest upset of the day. Which is a bigger upset for you, my friend? Loyola of Chicago over Miami or Buffalo over Arizona? Which one do you think is the bigger upset?
I think it's pretty clear. I don't know if I was going to ask you if this was a trick question. I think it's pretty easily to say that Arizona over Buffalo. And I promise you, right hand to God, no lie, I had Buffalo on my bracket. That was just one of those games that, when I'm filling out these brackets, I say, you know what, everybody looks forward to that second round. Oh, Kentucky, Arizona, Wildcats versus Wildcats, so on and so forth. It hardly ever happens that way.
Yeah.
And it was just a matter of coming down to picking Davidson over Kentucky or Buffalo over Arizona. And for a team like Buffalo, man.
Well, I took Davidson.
Davidson.
I took Davidson, so there we go.
You took Davidson.
Yeah.
Okay. You took Davidson. But for a team like Buffalo that, has two players that are averaging 17 points a game, and then another two players that are averaging 15 points a game, and then you look down the line and you've got multiple other guys that after them that gets a lot of minutes following that and are averaging 8 points here, 7 points there, 5 here. All those things begin to add up. And then you look at juniors, seniors, redshirt sophomores, which technically that's the third year of college, and more juniors, more seniors. I mean, those are the teams that are fit to win these big games against. Everybody talks about Arizona being the Goliath, and Arizona, they haven't sniffed a national championship in going on 21 years now. And on top of that, I understand the DeAndre Ayton factor, but don't forget he's a freshman. He's never been on this stage before. That's the beauty of college basketball, March Madness, is the fact that you get some of these small schools like Buffalo who's shooting 50% from three, 54% from the field, and just itching and waiting on an opportunity to play on the big stage and prove that they can play with the big boys. And I'm not going to Arizona, but the Pac-12 has been up and down all season long. We saw it with Oregon after coming off a national championship season. We've seen the exact same thing with USC, who feels snubbed, but they were double digits in losses, and they were second in the conference, not only in the conference tournament, but in the regular season. Arizona lost 3 games in a row out there at the Battle for Atlantis in the Bahamas. So from that standpoint, and as you can see, the loss with UCLA in the first 4 as well as Arizona State. It's been up and down all year long between the Pac-12. I don't think it helped with the cloud that's hanging over Arizona coming into this whole thing. I don't think that helped a lot. Lonzo Sear hasn't been the most consistent guy, and how dare I trust Jackson Cartwright, a point guard that I just had no trust in whatsoever throughout the course and duration of the regular season. Had no trust in him whatsoever, not whatsoever by any means. Rawley Alkins being a guy that was injured for a nice little bit of the season. It was just too much influx, too much inconsistency from Arizona. And I think that's where we see a team like Buffalo that just wants to show that they can play with anybody. And to be honest, I'm going to tell you why I really picked them. I saw Buffalo. I watch all these teams play, all 351 Division I schools. I sat back and watched Buffalo play during the regular season. And if anybody else doesn't understand this, I saw the way they shoot and don't hardly miss shots and go after it.
Yeah.
I said, this looks like Middle Tennessee State. And if nobody knows how that feels, I know how that feels. When they get in, depending on who the draw will be and what the seedings will be and what regions, I'm going to go with Buffalo, and that's the reason I took them.
And you know what? I took Stephen F. Austin for the same exact reason over Texas Tech, because I saw the defense Stephen F. Austin played. However, I was wrong. The athletic ability and the size of Texas Tech prevailed in the last 5 minutes of that game and really took over. When we look at the loss of Coach, who'd you have winning and losing? Who'd you have losing yesterday? I mean, winning yesterday that lost on your bracket. I mean, I know you're usually pretty good at picking these folks.
Well, I got upset with Arizona, of course,
yeah.
And I thought Miami was going to do well. But Mr. Tate, I got a question for you. Sitting right there now, next for Buffalo is Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a good one right there.
It should be. I mean, Buffalo's not afraid to play against the Goliath. That's the thing. Is they feel like they can play with anybody. When you got a team that's confident the way that they are going in against one of the hottest teams, when you're playing with house money, those are the guys you want to stay away from. Not only that, but Kentucky's really young like usual. And this doesn't give you the feel of the 2012 Kentucky team. This doesn't even give you the feel of some of the other better Kentucky teams. This gives you, at some points during this season, especially when you're losing 4 or 5 in a row, it gives you the feeling of that 2013 Kentucky team that lost in the NIT to Robert Morris. So,
yeah.
But they look like a different team right now. And to be honest with you, on my bracket, I've got Kentucky winning the game. I think that it will be a tough game for Kentucky, but they probably have the most talented and deepest and tallest and just biggest and strongest front court players that there is in all of college basketball when it comes to the front court. Everybody from
you think
Gabriel to If Vanderbilt comes back, for crying out loud. I mean, Nick Richards is another one. P.J. Washington. I mean, and there's probably about 2 or 3 more. The thing that concerns me is outside of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who I think has been exceptional for them, is the Quad A Green factor mixed in with Hamidou Diallo. Those are guys that cannot afford to put up 6 points combined in a game and things like that. I think that will hurt them. And running around after these little guys from Buffalo with big hearts, I think that could have an effect. But if Kentucky comes away with it, who knows? I mean, we were talking about Kentucky losing 4 games in a row. Heck, would it really surprise anybody, as bad as Kentucky looked earlier this year, to see them just win 4 games in a row and get back to the Final Four? I think not, especially when you consider that if they win this game on tomorrow against Buffalo, they move on to what they call Catlanta right here in Atlanta, where they're extremely hard to beat. Kind of reminds me of Duke when they go to New York.
Yeah, it's very, very simple. And I'm thinking Virginia is rooting for Buffalo to pull that upset, if you want to know the truth about it. We're getting a buzz there. You still there, DeShaun?
I'm still here.
Okay.
I think that Virginia probably wants to play Kentucky because they probably feel like they're a little bit more mature and can kind of school the youngsters a little bit more than a really big. Who would want to play Buffalo after beating Kentucky and Arizona?
Buffalo reminds me of the 2000 I think it was 2015 Florida Gulf Coast team. That's who Buffalo's reminding me of right now.
I can see that in some ways.
Yeah. Who, Coach, let me ask you this question. And I know Coach's answer before we go, and I'm going to ask the coach first, and then, DeShaun, I'll ask you the question. Who was the single most impressive player to you in day one of the tournament? Who when you turned on that TV to watch, was you saying, man, this kid is carrying his team?
I know you're going to say Colin Sexton.
That's who I had. DeShaun, I had Colin Sexton. He took let me tell you, he took a Alabama team last night that is not, look, I don't like to talk about kids. These are 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. But their ability is not to where other teams are. And Colin took that team on his back. And in that fourth quarter, in the last 2 minutes, when he hit that Dwayne Wade, Michael Jordan-esque 10-foot jumper fadeaway with the guy in his face, I said, this kid is on fire. That was right after he hit a three-pointer that was 3 foot behind the NBA line, not the college line. But you know what I'm talking about, DeShaun, when he did that last night?
I absolutely do.
I mean, can you think of another player? And I know everybody's saying y'all are homers because y'all show's based in Georgia and Collins from right down the street from Marietta where you guys are from, so you're homers. Was there any one player that had a better day yesterday than Colin Sexton on the national stage?
I'm not sure if I'll go as far as saying that he had a better day, but there was a kid that in 36 minutes that shot 12 for 25, 4 for 6 from 3, and 8 rebounds. 39 points for Rob Gray from Houston. I almost feel like I got to go there. I mean, you think about it, Rob Gray is not a 5-star player. He didn't come in as a 5-star player. I think he's a senior. But Colin Sexton is a 5-star, and he's got another 5-star next to him in John Petty. Rob Gray doesn't have any of that. Now, he has a really good coach in Kelvin Sampson, but he doesn't have the same things. I'm not saying I take Rob Gray over Sexton. I'll just go as far as to say that was someone that kind of opened up my eyes, and to show that the interesting thing will probably be the fact that Colin Sexton, I'm curious to see what he has in store for a Villanova team, and even more so what Rob Gray has in store for Michigan in the next round tomorrow.
Well, I'm just going to be honest with y'all, and I know we're running short on time, but I've got Alabama coming through and beating Villanova in the next round. Am I crazy? Do you think I'm crazy, Coach?
Yes.
Yes, you just said Coach is sending a nervous wreck over here. DeShaun, am I crazy?
You know what? I wouldn't say crazy. I mean, it sounds crazy until they go and do it. I heard a guy yesterday say that Buffalo was going to beat was going to be Arizona by 20, and I'm thinking, what the world is this guy on? Now, granted, I took Buffalo, but I didn't take Buffalo by 20, and I wouldn't have put my money up on it. If I would have, my girlfriend would have been really upset. Now, with that being said, I'll just say that it's crazy until someone actually goes out there to do it. Colin Sexton loves the big show.
Yeah.
I watched Colin Sexton during some teams this year that were just decent or fairly average, slightly above average, slightly below average. And I saw him finish with 12 points here, or maybe, 18-point performance there, 17, something up at 16. But when the light shined the brightest, he showed it in the conference tournament. I expect him to show it again tomorrow. That's just the competitive nature of a guy like Colin Sexton. That's why he and Rob Gray have so much in common, in my opinion. He has the competitive nature, the competitive edge of like nobody else in college basketball, and I think that's why he'll be the number one guard taken in the NBA draft.
I believe you're right. Who's your Final Four, DeShaun, and what's your biggest upset coming down the pike?
Certainly New Mexico State. Certainly New Mexico State over Clemson. When I fill out my bracket, before I do anything else, I say, okay, what is the one game that pops out at me that I'm like, nobody can bring me down from this. Nobody can sell me or tell me any different. This is the game right here that I feel like is going to be the upset. I think it's going to be Clemson. It's a classic 5-12 matchup as well. And I watched New Mexico State a few times this year, and I just feel like they're the one. Now, I think that Seton Hall has a really good team. I'm not saying they're going to go to the Final Four, but I will say that Seton Hall reminds me a lot of last year's South Carolina team. And so when I was looking at teams that could be potential, so last year's South Carolina team that can maybe, if not make it to a Final Four, that can make a deep run, maybe to the Sweet 16, maybe stretch it to the Elite Eight. That was probably Texas A&M, who I'm going to take over North Carolina as long as they can take care of business today, which it looks like they're going to against Providence. And then I'm going to take Seton Hall over Kansas. A lot of people say, man, but the game's in Wichita and the other game's in North Carolina. I understand that, but Kansas lost their fair share of games really close to home and even at home. Washington, Arizona State this year, Texas Tech, so on and so forth. Those are just a couple of the upsets that I have in mind.
Who's your Final Four, DeShaun?
Final Four. Oh, real quick. Sorry about that. Let's go with Xavier. I really want to switch my Cincinnati, but I can't take Cincinnati. I'm going Kentucky. I'm going to go West Virginia. I think they'll be the ones to knock off Villanova. And if somehow my Spartans, fingers crossed, can find a way to get past Duke or avoid them, I think they'll be going as well.
And who you got winning it all, my friend?
Oh, I took Sparty on this one. I think this is the year.
Ooh.
Who's that? Excuse me?
The Spartans.
Spartans.
Michigan State.
Michigan State. You got
That's
Izzo.
right.
You got Izzo winning it all. Man. Wow. That's shocking to me. That's the first person I've heard. Shocking. First person I've heard of Michigan State. Honestly.
Really?
Yeah. I don't see Michigan State making it that far. But, hey, that's what makes this game great, and that's what makes it fun. DeShaun, we've got to get you in here in studio with us in the coming weeks and sitting down and talk to you, man. We appreciate your knowledge. And how can people find you on the radio?
929thegame.com. It's a really, really busy year right now, obviously, for me. So we're not looking forward to getting much sleep this time of the year. 92.9thegame.com. You'll find a lot of really interesting articles, things that are going to be coming out, things I've just been noticing within the last day or two that I'm going to be breaking down after this weekend and the first 2 days all the way leading up to the Sweet 16 and up to the Final Four. At Tate's Take Sports, TATESTAKE Sports. Really appreciate you guys for having me on. That's on Instagram as well as it is on Twitter. So all social media platforms.
And folks, we'll put all his information on our Real Life Basketball Facebook page. The Real Life Basketball website's coming up soon, and we'll tweet that information out to you too. DeShaun, one good thing I'll say that me and you have in common and this is the only thing in the Final Four we have in common. We both picked Xavier.
It's not Michigan State?
No, it's Xavier. I had Xavier at the beginning of the year going to the Final Four, and I got them now. And when I seen them whoop Cincinnati at home right before Christmas, I said, this is a team that's got a chance to win it all. I think the poster child for the NCAA, Virginia, will be there in the finals because they represent everything that people want to represent about college basketball. We could talk about a whole lot more with you, man, but we want to bring you back in the coming weeks because of your knowledge of the game. And thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. And I'm sure you got to go back and watch some more games this afternoon, okay?
That's right. Thank you guys so much, and best of luck moving forward. Appreciate you for having me.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
DeShaun Tate, 92.9 The Game, Coach. He knows his players, does he not, Coach?
Most definitely.
He knows his basketball. So your Final Four, are they still intact, Coach? Everybody's in your Final Fours there.
Yeah, Virginia, Xavier, Villanova, Kansas.
There you go. I've got Purdue, Kansas, Xavier, and Virginia. Hey, Coach, it's been another great day. Got a big interview coming up on the next Real Life Basketball scheduled that'll come out Tuesday. Coach, you want to let everybody know who it is?
Yeah, Charlie Ward, one of the best two-sport athletes. Probably could play anything else he wanted to play in his life.
Yeah, we got to ask him if he ever played baseball.
Yeah, I'm sure he did with that arm.
With that arm, I mean, because, but he's one of the few guys that got drafted in the NBA and the NFL, won the Heisman Trophy at Florida State, never played it down in the NFL, played for the New York Knicks, played point guard, I believe it was, for the Knicks, and two guard. And he's got a new book coming out he's going to tell us about, I'm sure. And I'm sure we'll talk to him about his picks and the Sweet 16s coming up. We may have to touch in with DeShaun again and get his picks as we go through the tournament and get him on and tell us what's going on, not on Monday, but next week. What do you think?
I think it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to that interview.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be real fun. Thank you once again for listening to Real Life Basketball. Coach, you got anything else?
Yeah, please keep the young kids in prayer that are involved in our schools, and I really want to say I really want to say thank you to the people that allowed those kids to have an opportunity to speak out about what's going on. Because when it's happening to kids and they're telling you, please look out for us, there's no way you can ignore that. And I just want to leave you with that.
Well, thank you, Coach, for those thoughts. Remember, you got your Real Life Basketball T-shirt here. If you go to Facebook Live and watch the show, you'll see it. Tell me what kind of hat I got on. I'll send you one of those. Just reach out. We may send you one. Just say, Darren, can you send me one of those shirts? You never know. I might like your pictures. Who knows? We'll do that. Nick Paparelli, our producer over here. Nick, appreciate it. Once again, you've been awful quiet today. How's your brackets looking, Nick?
Well, A&M just won, so that screwed me a little bit. And so far, my Final Four is intact, and Miami's the only one that I really messed up on.
So did you pick Buffalo?
And Arizona.
Okay,
but I had Arizona.
That's what I thought. That's what. Don't even act like it. Anyway,
He's thinking about Alabama.
He's thinking about. Oh, he's with me, Alabama or Villanova.
And Georgia State is beating Cincinnati right now.
I would love to see Georgia State beat Cincinnati. You remember I asked Sherman that day we interviewed him, the assistant coach for Georgia State. I said, give me a program Georgia State is looking to build towards. And Cincinnati was the one we came up with, if you remember the conversation. So that'd be a great. Does Ron Hunter stay at Georgia State?
Well,
if he wins the first game in the NCAA tournament.
Well, I think he's going to look to be in a place where he can recruit some of the best athletes in the country. And Georgia is definitely one of those places.
Let me ask you this: isn't Ron a Northeastern guy? Isn't he from the Northeast?
Well, I don't exactly know where he's from, but if somebody put $2 million on the table, that's where he's going to be moving to.
What I'm getting at is Connecticut. Would that be a good place for Ron Hunter?
It could be. It's time. I mean, they're now. You also got Pitt out there. Hey, I'm gonna tell you like this: whoever's getting that Middle Tennessee State job, they're stepping into a very good program.
Won't you put in for that job?
Well, of course, it appears that everybody wants a big name. So, hey, more
you got
power
a big
to 'em.
name in the state of Georgia. You got a podcast named after you. What are you talking about, man?
I'm working with Darren Southern.
We appreciate it. Nick Paparelli, the producer. You've been listening to Real Life Basketball on the BG Ad Group Podcast Network for episode 26. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for paying attention. We appreciate it. Thanks again for DeShaun Tate from 92.9 The Game. Very knowledgeable about college basketball. What am I missing?
Quick question. Where do I send that application to?
For what?
Middle Tennessee State.
Oh, you know what I was going to tell Nick to do? I seen where the kid from Georgia Tech, the junior, jumped in the NBA draft.
Who?
The kid that plays Georgia Tech.
Can't even name him.
I know it. Oshkosh or whatever his name is. Okese or what is I can't even name the kid. I mean, he's not even.
Well, no disrespect.
No disrespect. I'm just telling you the truth. But he entered the NBA draft. Nick, I want you to file paperwork this week with the NBA that you're going to file, and let's see what happens.
Oh, we also got to point out that we're going to be having a live podcast from the McDonald's All-American game.
Yes, we will be covering the McDonald's All-American game live. We'll be there interviewing some of the great players. And I know Coach will be interviewing them. They may not talk to me. What do you think, Coach?
Well, hopefully we'll get an interview with Kevin Doyle and Steve Smith.
Yeah,
you know,
all those kind of good guys like that and have a lot of good fun. Maybe we'll even talk about Zion Williamson while we're done there.
Hey, we'll try to run into him.
We will try to run into him and say, hey, Zion, can I have your autograph? I ain't asking no 17-year-old kid for autograph. This thing going to. Just not. But anyway, appreciate you listening to Real Life Basketball on the BG Ad Group Network. Go pick your Final Four, folks.